Welcome to another Listener into Lead podcasting tip, where I'll be sharing 30 tips on how coaches can begin to nurture listeners into leads while positioning themselves as a trusted authority with their very own podcast. Want to get leads and business from your podcast? You're in the right place. Hi, it's Anne-Marie and welcome to another Listener into Lead podcast tip for coaches and consultants who want to launch a podcast to nurture listeners into leads, get clients, and build their business with their podcast. This is tip number 29. Now, if you've accessed my Profitable and Purposeful Podcasting Masterclass, you would have heard me talk about the customer journey and how your podcast can play an integral role in nurturing your customers along the customer journey when you've got the right strategy and tactic in place. And make sure you listen to tip 30 as I share more about the tactic that will help you begin to nurture listeners into leads, get people off your podcast and onto your list. Now, there are 3 stages to the customer journey. Stage 1 is awareness, stage 2 is consideration, and stage 3, decision. Now, stage 1 awareness is when a potential customer is aware that they've got a problem and they are actively seeking answers. And now they've just come across your podcast and they're listening to you share your insights. They are now also aware of you. Now, stage 2 is consideration. Now, this is when they've just taken that next step after your call to action on your podcast, and that listener has now become a lead, and they are now considering the information that you're sharing. They're considering you. They're continuing to build know, like, and trust with you as they continue to consume and engage with the content you're sharing. Now, by the way, this also is important to know that sometimes the person who is listening is not your ideal client. So not only does this work on attracting ideal clients and nurturing them along the customer journey, but those people who are not your ideal client, they will self-select themselves out so that you don't have to spend time in weeding them out. Now, stage 3 is the last stage, and that's the decision stage, when with another call to action, your listener, who has become a lead, is now being nurtured along the customer journey to become an inquiry. They are now either booking themselves on a strategy or discovery call while waiting for you to speak to them and how you might be able to support them. And those are the 3 stages and what happens in each stage, which is all started from, guess what? Your podcast, as you continue to build know, like, and trust with your listener, nurturing them from the awareness stage to consideration stage, right through to decision stage. And as I mentioned in my Profitable and Purposeful Masterclass, a customer journey is a strategic set of steps that continue to build know, like, and trust. And once you have those strategic sequential set of steps in place, they can continue to work for you 24/7, 365 days a year. So have you mapped out your customer journey and how you can leverage your podcast to nurture your listeners through that strategic sequential set of steps? If not, that's something that I encourage you to focus on. And if you haven't already, get access to my Profitable and Purposeful Podcasting Masterclass, where I dive even deeper into the customer journey and how to nurture those listeners into leads. So go to podcastingwithpurpose.com/listener into lead. That's podcastingwithpurpose.com/listener into lead. I'll see you in the last tip. Do you feel like the world's best kept secret and thinking about starting a podcast to build your visibility and reach? Or maybe you've started a podcast but you're just not generating the results you'd hope for. Go ahead and access my Profitable and Purposeful Podcasting Masterclass, where I'll show you how, with the right strategy in place, you can begin to nurture listeners into leads from your very first episode. Go to www.podcastingwithpurpose.com/listener into lead. That's podcastingwithpurpose.com/listener into lead.